and welcome. Obviously, the first thing I'd like to do is just say a huge thank you to our partners and our sponsors, because without them, this wouldn't be possible. We have 100 events across 5 days, all aimed at inspiring and celebrating the tech industry right here in Birmingham. So during today's talk, you're going to discover the top 3 branding mistakes that tech companies tend to make. You'll also discover why you should be more like Madonna. But first, a little bit about me. So I've got 10 years experience in running a branding and web design agency here in the Joy Quarter. Past clients include the likes of McDonald's, Marks and Spencer's, Auto Trader. And I'm also very proud to say that I am chair for Birmingham Tech Week, which is obviously responsible for putting this awesome week together. And finally, I am a mentor on the NatWest Accelerator programme within the branding and digital space. So let's get started, because for many, branding is chronically misunderstood. From people thinking that branding can be done in an afternoon, to companies just ignoring it altogether. It's a key area that can make or break your tech business, especially in the long run. And branding just doesn't evolve by itself. It's a blueprint for how you want the world to see your business. And blueprints are always planned and researched documents. So just for clarification, a brand is not your logo. Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. A great quote there from the founder of Amazon. A strong brand increases customer loyalty, it builds engagement and creates trust. It's well known that consumers are more likely to buy from a company with a compelling brand story because it's easier for them to build an emotional connection. I think most people tend to know that by now. But a well-curated brand also improves perception of quality. And that, my friends, means that you can charge more. But as a consumer of tech products, it can be very difficult to judge digital products until you've actually used them. That means that digital products can often suffer from being sold solely based on their technical specs and not by the problem they solve. So our first mistake to avoid is using too much jargon. Recently, I saw a set of brand guidelines from a multi-million-pound technology company based in Canada. And it categorically said, we do not use jargon. We do not abbreviate. So brand guidelines, for those that don't know, are essentially a set of instructions on how the design elements should be presented. From the tone of the voice to the use of colours and fonts, brand guidelines are a must. So for this company, not using jargon forms part of their brand voice, and it explicitly sets out instructions on when it is or isn't acceptable to use them. And when you have a team of people, setting ground rules like this is paramount to success. Everyone communicates the same message and everything is consistent. So let's look at how jargon can be a big mistake. I'm also going to talk about cognitive fluency, which is how easily the brain can interpret what it's seeing without thinking too much. So if you came upon the following value proposition, how likely is it that you'd understand it right away? Revenue-focused marketing, automation, and sales effectiveness solutions unleash collaboration through the revenue cycle. That's a genuine value proposition. It does exist, but what does it mean? Can you explain what they do? Probably not. So instead, how about these examples from 2 different email service providers? The first one, a lot of text, a lot of content, or maybe this one, send better email. I mean, it's probably going to be the second one, isn't it, really? The first one's cluttered, it's got lots of buzzwords, truly dynamic, maximize the performance. That's not to say the first example isn't effective. It might be very effective, but the second example with MailChimp has much greater cognitive fluency in that it means it's easier to understand. We can glance at it, we can read it quickly and very fast understand what we're looking at and what we need to understand. Another example is if you take a look at Crawley, which is a tool for developers. And you'd probably expect to get lost in a sea of technical jargon that you may or may not understand, which is fine. They're targeting developers. It's a specialized audience that deserves specialized copy. But here they've actually done a really great job of using technical terms, but in such a simple way that it's fairly easy to understand. They're using specialty language, but still writing it as simply as possible. And the point is, even with technical audiences, you still want to make sure your readers are doing as little thinking as possible. So why is thinking dangerous? Basically, our brain has two modes. The first one, system 1, and the second, system 2. When we're browsing web pages, we go along in autopilot. System 1, here's the search. Here is where you expect it to be in the top right-hand corner. Here's the menu across the top of a web page. But what if something is not where we expect it? Like the menu's down the side or the search is at the very bottom of the page. Well, then the second part of our brain is engaged, system 2, and it's slow and untrusting. And it questions everything. Why is the menu here? This really doesn't feel right. We're not in autopilot now, and the brain doesn't feel safe. It's looking for cues and for reasons to move on, to close the web page, to leave it, to move on to something different. So there's a reason why Amazon has very gradual changes on their website. And if you think about it, their search and buy buttons are always in the same place. They never move, they're always there. And that's because that's where people expect them to be. Amazon don't want to do anything that takes their customers out of autopilot. As soon as they're taken out of autopilot, then the brain, system 2, starts to come in and question what they're doing, and it's not as easy just to add things to the basket. It's the same with jargon. Jargon makes us think. Our brain is going, well, what does that mean? I don't understand it. I shouldn't be here. This isn't for me. If you're questioning whether your customers do use jargon or not, it's quite an easy way to find out. And that's just to have a conversation with them. If your customers don't use the words you use, or their face scrunches up with confusion, or if you have to explain yourself over and over again, these are all clues that you're talking in a different language. An unnecessary jargon, when used to persuade, is bad. Jargon as a whole, however, isn't always negative. And here are a few occasions when using technical jargon may be acceptable and even effective. So if you want to give perception of higher value, if you've got specialty language for a specialty audience, like the example that we looked at earlier, and also if you want to filter out leads that you don't want. So if you don't understand this technical term, then you're not the customer for us. And if you're talking about a complicated topic, so to share your position as a thought leader, then naturally you'd have to use terms that are specific to your industry. But psychology tells us that if we want to build credibility and trust with potential clients, then we need to be empathetic. And the easiest way to show empathy in life is to mirror the behavior and language of the person that we're talking to. We do it all the time. We copy each other's behavior. We often repeat each other's words and phrases too. It demonstrates that we're listening and that we've got an understanding of their meaning. But this can sometimes perpetuate the use of jargon. It's completely accepted within your circle or within your colleagues. Colleagues use it all the time. But as soon as you shift back to talking to your customers or your target audience, it's crucial to hit the reset button. Remember that you're building rapport with an entirely different group of people. That brings us on to mistake number 2, and that's not staying relevant. So you've spent ages creating an amazing and innovative piece of software. And you've launched it into the world to industry-wide delights. Your product is the toast of the town and you're on top of the world until the next product comes along. And in the fast-paced world of technology, the next big thing comes around as often as Kim Kardashian takes a selfie. And finding new angles on the same old story can become time-consuming and boring. However, the wonderful thing about technology is that it is constantly evolving. Developers are continually adding new features, which provides an opportunity to go back out into the market and get conversations going again, people talking about your product, talking about the new features. So it makes sense that every time you create a new product or add a new feature, that you really stop and consider, why are we doing this? Why are we creating this feature? How will it help our customer in their lives? How does it differ from before? And how will these new features make our customers feel? And this may seem obvious, but I have seen it over and over again. It's so easy to get carried away with the detail of the new feature that it's easily forgotten why it was created in the first place. Therefore, marketing messages must highlight the benefits, not the features of a product. So if in doubt, always remember that benefits sell and features tell. Madonna is the undisputed queen of reinvention. She knows that the world changes, and so she must change with it. Likewise, every time you add a feature to your software, it's an opportunity for you to test whether your ideal buyer has changed. Are they still in the same roles? Do they have the same pain points? Have they moved from influencer to decision maker? The thing is, your ideal buyer will change over the course of your product's life. So you must continuously tweak your messaging to appeal to them. The launch of new features is prime time to reinvigorate the website, write new blog posts, target new customers, and generally keep on top of where your customers are. It will ensure that your product stays fresh and relevant to them. Another issue that you might be having is a gap between what customers think you do and what you actually do. This is one of the things that is most common. Businesses have grown over a number of years and they've entirely neglected their website. It doesn't reflect what they do anymore. Milestone Systems is a security, hardware and services company, and they had this exact same problem. Their last rebrand was in 2000, and within the next decade, they had seen their business and the market transform significantly. Given the company had never addressed these changes, their story to the marketplace varied from department to department. This didn't just create discord, it meant that they were selling themselves short as the market had a very narrow perception of the products and the services that they sold and actually what they did. So what happened next was the marketing equivalent of a makeover montage. The team got together and did a lot of work on establishing their brand identity, who their ideal customer was, what products and services they offer, the perception in the market, and then the steps that they needed to take to rectify the situation. Re-education was a key part in repositioning themselves, and they created a short video that encapsulated who they were, what their capabilities were, and how that differed to their competitors. Their head of brand, Julie Rumsey, said, "We like to think we have a special sauce to add to the hardware we sell, but our previous brand didn't reflect that." So she said that their competitors talked about products, features and prices, and that their new brand emphasized what their competitors weren't talking about. And that's how engineering and products secure the lifeblood of our customers' business. This focus had trickled down to the revamp of their website. And as you can see, back then it was cluttered and featured very heavily on products and not solutions. But after the makeover, the website was centered around the pain point of the customer and how Milestone could solve that problem, all packaged in a clear and beautiful website. So they now say that now with the new brands, every employee understands what effect their daily work has on the success of the customers. So it's a very powerful message, but it's very simple. So is it fair to say that the most successful brands are the most relevant brands? I mean, you only have to look at the likes of Zoom, Netflix, Tesla. Zoom has seen 300 million participants per day in April, and their revenue soared 169%. It's insane. Even Adobe has seen a 50% rise in the number of people sharing PDFs compared to last year. All highly relevant brands. And it will certainly be interesting to see how companies like Zoom retain customers moving forwards. I know I keep getting huge discounts sent by email. Sign up for a 12-month plan. I think that's probably one of the ways that they're trying to grow their customer base and make sure that we stay for longer than just during this pandemic. According to an Accenture survey of global C-suite executives published in 2018, 68% said that they expected their industry to be significantly disrupted within the next 3 years by technical innovation. Well, we're 2 years in, and the disruption is being felt the world over. It used to be that only tech companies had tech stories to tell, but today that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm sure you've all heard of lots of companies that have completely re-engineered their processes to accommodate working from home. The breathtaking pace of digital transformation is impacting every industry and every sector. No organisation is immune, and those that choose not to invest in innovation will simply not survive. If you're head of marketing at a non-techie company, you may not fully appreciate the scale and impact a well-told innovation story can deliver. There's a growing, incredible body of evidence linking a compelling innovation story with an increase in corporate valuation. In other words, it means that talking tech more frequently leads to a bigger company valuation. So let me give you an example of a non-tech company that's boosted their standing by communicating a business strategy that has technology at its core. I think you'd be quite surprised. It's Domino's. It's seen as one of the early adapters that started to lean on technology. Diners increasingly wanted mobile apps to place orders and get food delivered seamlessly to their door. In fact, online orders now far surpass orders taken over the phone. A decade ago, its share price languished at $2.83. Both consumers and investors were obviously underwhelmed by what the business had to offer. It's now $430, and the company's market cap stands above 17 billion. That's US dollars. So what changed? Well, Domino's started to call itself a tech company. Out of the 800 people working at Domino's headquarters, 400 work in software and analytics. Their business is centered around mobile ordering and its tracking ability. So our third top mistake is actually one of my pet hates. It's in at number 3 and it's pixelated screenshots. As I said at the very beginning, it can be really difficult to demonstrate tech-based products in marketing and on websites. But why invest so much time, energy, and money into creating an awesome product if you don't then invest in how you show it off? I know that it can be a pain and that you just want to move on to developing the next feature, but your competitors are doing it, and some are doing it very well. The bar is set really high, especially within the software as a service sector, SaaS. SaaS is booming. As a business at Scribble, we've got subscriptions left, right, and centre. We have them to successfully manage the agency, from Asana for project management, Xero for accounts, to the lesser known platforms like BigFlip. BigFlip is something that enables us to move post-it notes around on the screen, much the same as when we're sticking them on the wall during a strategy session. Who'd have thought it? But it's been a lifesaver for us during lockdown. And certainly in 2019, SaaS annual revenues have exceeded $100 billion US dollars, according to Statista. They also projected that the global SaaS market will reach $157 billion US dollars by 2020, more than doubling the market size in 2014. But let's go back to my favorite tool, Asana, because look at how beautifully they show off their products. I'm going to come in and just show you their website. Beautiful, beautiful website. There's no technical jargon. It's completely relevant to me as an agency owner. particularly during lockdown. I can't have a quick catch up with James, my designer, he's not sat next to me. But look, they entice me in with highly relevant imagery that details how it works with these clever animations, not a pixelated or tiny screenshot in sites. And yes, obviously this could be seen as part of the marketing, but in order to build a strong brand, companies need to be consistent. And to be consistent, you need to showcase your product at its best. This is often the missing piece. You cannot convey your product's value through a single pixelated screenshot. It just doesn't do it justice. So where did Asana start? According to Wikipedia, it was founded in 2008 by co-founder Dustin Moskovich and ex-Google, ex-Facebook engineer Justin Rosenstein. So they both worked in improving the productivity of employees at Facebook. Commercially, Asana was launched 4 years after that in 2012 and has gone through 5 rounds of funding. In December 2018, the company was valued at $1.5 billion US, but was still not profitable. I mean, how crazy is that? And some might question if it's really worth it. But by April 2020, revenue had increased by a whopping 71% compared to the previous year. Slowly, they are drip feeding extra features for higher paid subscription fees. And like a sucker, I'm upgrading every single time. But look, if you're investing in great imagery, it can be used on every channel, from your social media accounts to your tech spec sheets, uniting everything together through bold and well-designed artwork. Let's compare Asana to another project management tool. This is a website, Sky Discovery. This is their webpage. There's no imagery, just some text. It's not really very engaging. So by judging both of these sites side by side and the experience they offer, which are you more likely to use? And would you pay a higher price if you could have a better experience? Yes, it's a no-brainer, of course you would. There really isn't anything more that I can say about pixelated images. But companies do make this mistake all the time. And with that mini rant, I've come to the end of my talk, and we've certainly covered a lot. I hope you found it interesting. Maybe it will inspire some of you to go away and review your own brands. But in summary, these are the 3 mistakes to avoid. Don't use jargon. Make your copy as simple as possible to understand. Always stay relevant. Be aware of your marketplace and what people want now. Don't use pixelated images of your products. Invest in really good imagery. If anything that I've said rings true today, then take a step back and start putting together a plan. Don't jump in. Consider running a mini brand audit. Lay everything out in front of you so that you can check for consistency. Or of course, you could always ask an expert. But thank you very much for listening. I'm Kim Leary and I run Squibble, a branding and web design agency based in the Joy Quarter.